They say you only truly know someone when you're facing them across a lawyer's table. In my case, I never truly knew my wife until I heard her turn my deepest insecurities into a punchline for a crowd of our friends. My name is Caleb Hayes. Until 3 months ago, I was living what anyone would call the American dream. My life was a carefully constructed blueprint, built on a foundation of hard work and quiet dedication. I was a senior structural engineer, a man who dealt in certainties, load-bearing capacities, stress points, the unwavering laws of physics. That same logic, I believed, applied to my life. A spacious 2-story home in a green, manicured Austin suburb, 2 incredible kids, Chloe 10 and Owen 7, and Jenna, my wife of 12 years. From the outside, we were a portrait of suburban success. I was the guy who waved while mowing the lawn on Saturday mornings, the dad who patiently explained the physics of a curveball to Owen's Little League team. Jenna was the vibrant, social mom who organized the neighborhood block party, her laugh the centerpiece of every gathering. At school functions, other parents would comment on how polite our children were. At work, my colleagues would sigh with a sort of weary envy when I mentioned our weekend plans. I believed the facade too. I believed in the structure I had built. I thought its foundation was solid rock. It wasn't until the night of Marcus and Elise Reed's anniversary party that I learned it was built on sand. But to understand how it all fell apart, you have to understand how it was put together. I met Jenna in my final year of engineering school. She was working at the campus coffee shop, a whirlwind of bright energy, with blonde hair perpetually escaping a messy ponytail. I found myself ordering espressos I didn't even like, just for a 5-minute conversation with her. She had a laugh that was uninhibited and genuine, a sound that could make a whole room feel warmer. You know, most people don't need 20 minutes to drink a single shot of espresso, she said to me one afternoon, a teasing glint in her blue eyes. Either you really love bitter coffee, or there's something else keeping you here. I stammered something about the ambiance, and she let out that incredible laugh. 2 weeks later, we were dating. A year after that, I proposed in that same coffee shop, my voice shaking more than it ever had during a final presentation. We married 6 months later. My best man was Leo Vance. Leo and I had been friends since middle school. He was everything I wasn't: outgoing, spontaneous, effortlessly charming. While I spent my days calculating structural integrity, Leo sold luxury real estate, driving a convertible and closing deals with a handshake and a smile. While I was building a retirement fund, he was spending weekends in Las Vegas. But our friendship had endured, a strange but solid bridge between 2 different worlds. When I introduced him to Jenna, they clicked instantly. I was thrilled. The 2 most important people in my life, getting along. In retrospect, perhaps they got along too well. The first years of our marriage were everything I had hoped for. We bought a small starter house and spent weekends painting walls and assembling furniture. When Chloe was born, I cried, holding her impossibly tiny hand. Jenna was a natural mother, her patience seemingly infinite. When Owen arrived 3 years later, our family felt complete. I worked hard, climbing the ladder at my firm. Each promotion meant more security, but it also meant more responsibility, more late nights, more time away. I saw it as a worthy sacrifice. It was all for them. Our life was built on routines that felt like steel beams. Sunday morning pancakes, monthly date nights, summer vacations to the Texas coast. Jenna would bring me coffee every morning. A kiss on the cheek, a silent promise of our shared life. I would call her during my lunch break just to hear her voice. These small rituals were the load-bearing walls of our marriage. Around our 8th anniversary, I noticed the first subtle shifts. The enthusiastic welcome when I came home from work became a distracted hello from behind her phone screen. Date nights, once sacred, were increasingly rescheduled. She joined a high-end gym, updated her entire wardrobe, and started going out for girls' nights with women I'd never even heard of. The changes were small, almost imperceptible at first. The morning coffee stopped. My lunchtime calls were rushed. "Can't talk now, in the middle of something," became her standard refrain. Her phone became an extension of her hand, always placed face down on the counter. She'd take calls in another room, her voice a hushed murmur. "Just Elise from spin class," she'd say, or "nobody important." "You should enjoy yourself more too, Caleb," she'd say when I'd ask about her new social life. "You're always so serious. Live a little." Oh no. I tried not to read too much into it. People change. We were approaching our mid-30s. Perhaps this was just Jenna reclaiming a piece of herself after years of focusing on the kids. Leo remained a constant presence. He'd come for dinner every few weeks, bringing expensive wine and tales of his latest adventures. The kids adored their Uncle Leo. Jenna always seemed to laugh a little too hard at his jokes. I noticed it gradually, the way her eyes would linger on him, the way she'd touch his arm when she spoke. I told myself I was being paranoid. This was Leo, my best friend. This was Jenna, my wife. Then came the comments, like tiny, sharp needles. "Leo looked good tonight, didn't he?" she'd remark after he left. "I wish you'd dress more like him. Those fitted shirts really suit a man." And the one that stung the most: "Leo's so funny. He always knows how to make a girl feel special." Oh. Each comment was a small erosion of our foundation. I'd deflect with a weak smile. "He's always been the fashionable one." Or, "That's just Leo being Leo." I didn't want to seem insecure. I was above that. But the comments became more frequent, more public. At a neighborhood barbecue, she announced, "Leo's taking me shopping next week. He says my husband doesn't know how to dress a woman properly." Everyone laughed, including me, a hollow echo in my own ears. I swallowed my pride each time, reminding myself that she had chosen me. We had a life, children, a history. A few careless words couldn't negate 12 years. I received an invitation to Marcus and Elise Reed's 15th anniversary party. It was the perfect opportunity, I thought, to reconnect, to remind ourselves of the vows we'd made. I hoped it would be a turning point, and in a way, it was. It was the night everything ended. The Reed's backyard was transformed into an elegant oasis. White lights were strung through the oak trees, casting a soft, romantic glow. Champagne flowed freely, and a jazz trio played softly in the corner. Everyone from the neighborhood was there, a sea of familiar, smiling faces. For the first time in months, I felt a flicker of optimism. Leo arrived fashionably late, of course, making a grand entrance in a tailored navy suit that probably cost more than my monthly mortgage payment. He kissed Jenna on both cheeks, a casual European gesture that suddenly felt far too intimate, before giving me a firm handshake. "For the man who has everything else," he said with a wink, handing me an expensive bottle of scotch. The evening progressed pleasantly. I stood with a small group, including Marcus and Elise, nursing my second glass of scotch and feeling the tension in my shoulders begin to ease. The Texas spring air was perfect, with just enough breeze to keep the mosquitoes at bay. Jenna joined us, her cheeks flushed from the champagne, her eyes sparkling. She slipped her arm through mine, a rare public display of affection that sent a wave of hope through me. Maybe tonight would be different. Maybe we could find our way back. "We were just talking about first impressions," Elise explained to Jenna, smiling warmly. "How we all met our spouses." Oh, Caleb was so shy," Jenna said, squeezing my arm. I felt a genuine smile spread across my face as she recounted the story of me lingering at the coffee shop, ordering espressos I clearly hated. "It was adorable," she finished. "What can I say? I knew a good thing when I saw it," I added, feeling a warmth that had nothing to do with the scotch. "And look at you now," Marcus said, raising his glass. 12 years and counting." Jenna's smile faltered for a fraction of a second. 12 years is a long time," she murmured, a strange note in her voice. An awkward pause hung in the air, but Leo, ever the master of social situations, filled it instantly. "So, what was your first impression of me, Jenna?" he asked, a playful grin on his face. She looked at him for a beat too long, a silent communication passing between them that I couldn't decipher. "I thought you were dangerous," she finally answered. "Dangerous?" Leo repeated, clearly pleased. "In a good way," she clarified, her words slightly slurred. "I told Caleb, that friend of yours is trouble." Everyone chuckled, but I felt that familiar tension creeping up my spine. This was her stage now. "Remember that time you came over when Caleb was away at that conference in Chicago?" Jenna continued, her eyes locked on Leo, completely ignoring me. "You brought over that ridiculous bottle of tequila." A cold pit formed in my stomach. I had no memory of Leo visiting while I was away. Judging by the uncomfortable glances being exchanged by our friends, this was news to them too. "Caleb was so boring back then, always working," Jenna went on, oblivious to the shifting atmosphere. "All those business trips, late nights at the office, a girl gets lonely." Elise, sensing the danger, tried to change the subject. "Marcus was the same way during his residency. I barely saw him." But Jenna couldn't be stopped. She had an audience. She looked around at our friends, our neighbors, the people whose respect I had carefully cultivated for years. Then, in a stage whisper that everyone could hear, she delivered the final blow. "You want to know something funny?" she said, a triumphant smirk on her face. "Even his best friend tried to seduce me once." The silence that followed was absolute. It was a physical thing, pressing in on me, suffocating me. I felt every eye in that group fix on me, their expressions a mixture of pity, shock, and morbid curiosity. Leo's face had gone pale, his easy smile vanishing as if it had been wiped clean. "Jenna," he started, his voice strained, "I think you've had too much to drink." "Oh, come on," she interrupted, waving a dismissive hand. "It's just a joke. We can all laugh about it now, right? Water under the bridge." She finally turned to me, her smile faltering as she registered the blank expression on my face. "Caleb, it's funny, right? I mean, nothing happened." I didn't respond. I couldn't. The world had narrowed to a single, sharp point of pain. The soft lights, the gentle music, the friendly faces had all faded away. In that moment, looking at my wife's expectant smile and my best friend's guilty expression, something fundamental inside me fractured. It wasn't just the implication that something had happened. It was the casual cruelty of it. The way she had taken a secret that should have been handled with care and thrown it into the open like a grenade, just for the thrill of the explosion. As if my feelings, our marriage, our shared history, were nothing more than a punchline. As if I were nothing. "I think I need some air," I finally said, my voice unnervingly calm, even to my own ears. I turned and walked away from the group, my movements stiff and robotic. I walked through the Reed's side gate, down the softly lit street, and didn't stop until I reached the neighborhood park. It was dark and empty, a stark contrast to the party I had just left. I sat on a cold metal bench and tried to process what had just happened. The cool night air did little to calm the firestorm raging inside me. In one careless, cruel moment, Jenna hadn't just revealed cracks in our foundation. She had taken a sledgehammer to the entire structure, and I was left sitting in the rubble. My phone buzzed incessantly with texts from Leo, from Marcus, from Elise. None from Jenna. I ignored them all. When I finally returned home around midnight, the house was dark and silent. Jenna was already in bed, sleeping or pretending to. I took a blanket from the linen closet and spent the night on the couch, staring at the ceiling, replaying years of interactions, searching for the clues I had so blindly missed. The next morning, Jenna came downstairs and acted as if nothing had happened. She was making pancakes for the kids, humming along to the radio, a portrait of domestic bliss. "You're not seriously still upset about last night, are you?" she asked when she noticed my monosyllabic responses, her voice laced with exasperation. "It was just a stupid joke." "Was it true, Jenna?" I asked, my voice flat. She rolled her eyes, a gesture of pure dismissal. "Does it even matter? It was years ago. Nothing happened." "So it was true. He did try something." She sighed dramatically, as if my pain was a profound inconvenience to her. "You're blowing this way out of proportion. Leo was drunk. I was lonely. He made a pass. I said no. End of story. It's ancient history. And you never thought to tell me that my best friend tried to sleep with my wife? And say what, Caleb? Hey, honey, your friend hit on me, but don't worry about it. What good would that have done except make things awkward between you two?" The casual way she devalued my feelings felt like a physical blow. "So instead, you decided to announce it at a party, in front of all our friends and neighbors. God, Caleb, when did you become so sensitive? It was a joke. I was trying to lighten the mood." "I'm not laughing." "Fine," she snapped. "Be mad, sulk all you want." With that, she turned her back on me, leaving me standing in the kitchen as the kids' half-eaten pancakes congealed on their plates. The following weeks were a masterclass in Arctic diplomacy. We spoke only when necessary, our conversations limited to logistics about the children. I moved into the guest room, claiming my back was acting up. She didn't question it. I threw myself into my work, burying the turmoil under piles of blueprints and structural calculations. One evening, after the kids were in bed, I decided I couldn't live in the gray ambiguity any longer. I found her in the living room, scrolling through her phone. "Are you having an affair?" I asked directly. She looked up, genuinely shocked. "What? No. How could you even ask me that?" "You've been distant, secretive. The comments about Leo." "Oh my God, are you still on that? It was one stupid comment." One comment that revealed a secret you kept from me for years. I shot back. What else haven't you told me? Her expression hardened. I don't have to justify myself to you, Caleb. If you don't trust me after 12 years, that's your problem, not mine. She stormed out, slamming our bedroom door behind her. The next day, I did something I had sworn I would never do. While Jenna was taking the kids to school, I saw her phone charging on the kitchen counter. For once, it wasn't locked. My hands shook as I picked it up, a voice in my head screaming that I was crossing a line. But a stronger, more desperate voice told me I needed the truth. I opened her messages. What I found wasn't evidence of an affair with Leo or anyone else. It was in some ways worse. It was the slow, documented death of her respect for me. There were hundreds of messages in a group chat with her new friends, a circle I was clearly not welcome in. They were filled with complaints about me. Caleb's a good father, but God, being married to him, is like watching paint dry sometimes. He got all bent out of shape when I joked about Leo at the party. So sensitive. Honestly, there are days I just fantasize about starting over. Is that terrible? Each message was a knife, twisting deeper. In her private world, I was a burden, an obstacle to her happiness. I scrolled further back, to the days leading up to the Reed's party. Leo's coming tonight. Should be interesting. He always makes these things less boring. Wearing that dress he said he liked last time. Let's see if Caleb even notices. Then, the morning after, well, that backfired. Made a joke about Leo hitting on me years ago, and Caleb completely overreacted. Men and their fragile egos, I swear. The responses from her friends were a chorus of validation, encouraging her to live her best life. One exchange stopped my breath. Friend, so did anything ever actually happen between you and Leo? Jenna. Not really. He tried once when Caleb was out of town, but I shut it down. Kind of regret that sometimes, lol. Leo's way more fun. Friend. Girl, you're terrible. Jenna. I know. I'm not actually going to do anything, but a little flirtation keeps life interesting, right? I put the phone back exactly as I'd found it, a cold, hollow feeling spreading through my chest. This wasn't about a single mistake from years ago. This wasn't about Leo. This was about a fundamental, unbridgeable chasm in how Jenna viewed me, our marriage, and the life I had worked so hard to build for us. She saw it not as a sanctuary, but as a cage. And I was the jailer. In her eyes, I wasn't her partner. I was the punchline. My mind, usually a whirl of calculations and design problems, became chillingly clear. The emotional chaos solidified into a single, hard point of certainty. I walked into my home office, closed the door, and searched online for the best divorce attorney in Austin. The structure had failed. It was time for a controlled demolition. The next day, I had my first consultation with Arthur Sterling. He was a man in his 50s with salt and pepper hair, and the calm, steady demeanor of someone who had navigated countless emotional war zones. His office was quiet, professional, a stark contrast to the storm raging inside me. Tell me what's going on, Caleb, he said, his voice even. I explained everything, my voice surprisingly steady as I recounted the party, the aftermath, and the messages I'd found. I expected to feel shame admitting I had gone through my wife's phone, but all I felt was a grim sense of justification. Has there been any physical infidelity that you know of? Arthur asked, making notes on a legal pad. I don't have proof of that, I admitted. But there's a pattern of disrespect and emotional betrayal that makes trust impossible. Texas is a no-fault divorce state, he explained. We don't need to prove infidelity. However, when it comes to custody arrangements, the court will consider factors that speak to character and the home environment. The messages you found, her public behavior, that all helps paint a picture. I want my kids, I said, the words coming out with a force that surprised me. They shouldn't have to grow up in a home where their mother constantly belittles their father. That isn't healthy. I agree, Arthur said, looking me directly in the eye. Let's talk strategy. End of cell. For the next 2 weeks, I became a different kind of architect. My new project was the systematic dismantling of my marriage and the construction of a future for my children. I followed Arthur's advice meticulously. I was a silent, methodical planner. I documented everything. Jenna's late nights out, the inconsistencies in her stories, her dismissive comments. I used a third-party app to back up the text message threads where she mocked me to her friends. I gathered years of financial records, made copies of every important document, and secured them in a safe deposit box, all while maintaining a facade of strained normalcy at home. During this time, I focused on being more present with Chloe and Owen than ever before. I left work at 5 o'clock sharp. I helped Chloe with her science project and coached Owen on his batting stance. I wanted to build a firewall around them, to let them know that whatever was happening between their parents, my love for them was an unshakable constant. One evening, I took them for ice cream, something we hadn't done spontaneously in years. As we sat at a picnic table, Chloe looked at me thoughtfully, her spoon hovering over her strawberry cone. "You're different lately, Dad," she said. "Different how?" She shrugged. "I don't know. You're around more. And you seem sad, but also not sad. It's weird." "That's a pretty accurate description," I admitted with a small smile. "Are you and Mom getting a divorce like Lily's parents?" she asked, her voice small. The question hit me like a physical blow. "No, sweetheart," I lied, the word tasting like ash in my mouth. "We're just going through a rough patch." The final piece of my preparation involved confronting the one person I had been avoiding. I called Leo. He answered on the first ring. "Caleb, man, I've been trying to reach you." "We need to talk," I said, my voice devoid of emotion. "Meet me at the coffee shop on Lamar." 1 hour. He was already there when I arrived, looking uncharacteristically subdued. "Thanks for coming," I said, sliding into the booth across from him. "I owe you a massive apology, Caleb." "An explanation," he began. I held up a hand. "Before you start, I need to know one thing. The absolute truth. Did you and Jenna ever sleep together?" His eyes widened. "No, never. I swear on my life, Caleb." I studied his face, the face of the man I had known for over 20 years. I saw distress and shame, but not deception. I believed him. "But you made a pass at her." He closed his eyes and nodded, the shame deepening. "Yes, years ago. I was drunk. She was being flirty. It was a stupid, terrible mistake. She shut it down immediately. I've regretted it every single day since." "Why didn't you tell me?" "I was a coward," he said simply. "I was afraid of losing you. And Jenna insisted it was better to forget about it, that telling you would only hurt you for no reason." The irony was crushing. In trying to protect me, they had created a secret that festered and ultimately did far more damage. "There's something else you need to know," Leo said, his voice low. My stomach tightened. "Jenna's been talking to people, mutual friends, people in the neighborhood. She's saying things about you that aren't true." "And what kind of things?" He looked pained to say the words. "That you're controlling, that you track her spending, that you've threatened to take the kids away if she ever left. She's building a narrative, Caleb, painting herself as the victim." A cold fury washed over me. It was worse than I thought. She wasn't just disrespectful. She was malicious. She was actively trying to destroy my reputation. "I'm filing for divorce," I told him, the words solid and real. "I've already started the process." Leo nodded slowly. "I'm sorry it's come to this. For what it's worth, you're doing the right thing. You deserve better. Would you be willing to provide a statement about what really happened that night and about the rumors she's spreading?" "Absolutely," he said without hesitation. "Whatever you need." As I walked out of the coffee shop, a strange feeling settled over me. In the wreckage of my marriage, I had feared losing my best friend as well. But in that moment, I realized our friendship, despite its flaws, was built on something more real than my marriage had been. It was a structure that could be repaired. The foundation was still there. That weekend, Jenna announced she was going on a 3-day girls' trip to Nashville. "Just for a little break," she said breezily. "You'll be okay with the kids, right?" "Of course," I said, helping her carry her suitcase to the door. "Have fun." The moment her rideshare pulled away from the curb, a profound sense of calm settled over me. The final pieces were in place. She returned on Monday evening, bursting with energy, bearing tacky souvenirs for the kids, and talking a mile a minute about the bars and musicians she'd seen. "You should have seen this one guitarist," she gushed. "Absolutely incredible." And his eyes, I swear, if I wasn't a married woman. I just smiled and nodded, letting her talk. That evening, after the kids were asleep, I found her in the living room. "We should talk," I said calmly. "Let's open a bottle of wine." She seemed pleased, interpreting my offer as a white flag. a sign that her sulking husband had finally come to his senses. "That sounds nice," she said. "Let me just go change into something more comfortable." While she was upstairs, I retrieved a large manila envelope from my briefcase. It had been delivered by courier that morning. I placed it on the coffee table, right beside the empty wine glass, waiting for her. She returned wearing a silky camisole and shorts, an outfit clearly chosen for effect. Her eyes immediately went to the envelope. "What's that?" "Something I need you to look at," I said. She sat down beside me on the couch, closer than she had been in weeks, and picked it up. Her expression shifted as she pulled out the thick stack of documents from curiosity, to confusion, to utter shock. "Divorce papers?" she whispered, then let out a short, incredulous laugh. "Is this some kind of joke?" "No joke, Jenna," I said quietly. "I'm filing for divorce, and I'm seeking primary custody of the children." She stared at me, her eyes wide with disbelief. "Because of one stupid comment at a party? Are you serious right now, Caleb? This is insane." "It's not about the party, Jenna. It's about respect, or the complete and total lack of it that you've shown me for years. And you can't just—" "I've seen the messages," I interrupted, my voice steady. The blood drained from her face. "The ones where you mock me to your friends, where you call me boring and talk about how you regret not taking things further with Leo. I know about the rumors you've been spreading to the neighbors, trying to make me look like some kind of controlling monster." "You went through my phone?" she hissed, her shock turning to outrage. "You invaded my privacy?" "Yes, I did. And what I found confirmed what I already knew in my heart. You don't love me, Jenna. I don't even think you like me." "That's not true," she protested, but the words were hollow. "Everyone vents to their friends. It doesn't mean anything." "It means everything," I said. "It's not just the messages. It's the constant put-downs, the way you undermine me in front of our children, the secrets. I deserve better than that. Our kids deserve better than that." "Oh," her expression hardened, the shock giving way to cold fury. "You'll never get custody. I'm their mother. No judge will take children away from their mother." "Being a mother doesn't give you the right to create a toxic home environment," I countered, quoting Arthur Sterling, almost verbatim. "And I don't think a judge will be impressed by screenshots of you telling your friends you regret not cheating on your husband with his best friend." Tim. The reality of the situation finally seemed to hit her. Her tactics shifted from anger to pleading. "Caleb, wait. Let's talk about this. We can work it out. Couples therapy. Anything." "It's too late for that, Jenna. My decision is made." "Is this because of Leo?" she demanded. "I told you nothing happened." "I know," I said calmly. "I spoke with him. He told me everything. This isn't about what he did. It's about what you did. You kept it a secret for years, and then you used it as a weapon to humiliate me. That says everything I need to know." She stared at me, searching my face for a crack in my resolve. Finding none, she played her final card. "The kids will be devastated," she said, her voice trembling. "Is that what you want? To break up their home because your feelings got hurt?" "Don't you dare use our children as leverage," I said, my own voice rising for the first time. "They deserve parents who model a healthy relationship. This," I said, gesturing between us, "is not it." Tears welled in her eyes. Whether they were genuine or tactical, I could no longer tell. "I love you, Caleb. Despite everything, I do. Please don't do this." For a fleeting moment, my resolve wavered. 12 years, a lifetime of memories. But then I remembered the cold words on her phone screen, the pity in my friend's eyes, the soul-crushing humiliation of that night at the party. I remembered the woman who called me boring, who laughed at my expense, who saw my devotion not as a strength, but as a weakness to be exploited. I stood up. "I'm sorry, Jenna. My mind is made up. My parents are coming tomorrow to stay with the kids. I've arranged to move into a hotel for the time being. You'll be served officially in the morning." I turned and walked toward the guest room, leaving her standing alone in the living room, the divorce papers scattered on the coffee table like fallen leaves on the grave of our marriage. The performance was over. The curtain had fallen. The next few weeks were a blur of legal consultations, temporary hearings, and the sterile anonymity of an extended stay hotel. The shockwave of our separation rippled through our social circle. To my surprise, once the truth began to emerge, many stood by me. Jason's sworn statement about Jenna's behavior and the rumors she'd spread carried significant weight. Marcus and Elise Reed offered their support, admitting they had long been uncomfortable with the way Jenna treated me. We always saw the little digs, the backhanded compliments. Elise told me over coffee one morning. We just told ourselves it was her sense of humor, that you were okay with it. We're sorry we never spoke up. Sir. Jenna, meanwhile, oscillated between conciliatory messages about working things out for the children and vitriolic emails accusing me of emotional abuse. Following Arthur's advice, I documented everything and responded only through official channels. She's digging her own grave, he remarked calmly. Judges don't look kindly on this kind of behavior. The court established a temporary arrangement, giving us each equal time with the children. I rented a small, clean two-bedroom house in a neighborhood close to their school. I let Chloe and Owen pick out their own bedding and decorations, trying to make it feel like a home, not just a temporary stop. They adjusted better than I had feared, though there were difficult moments. Did you stop loving Mom? Chloe asked one night as I tucked her in. Love is complicated, sweetie, I said, choosing my words carefully. Sometimes people can care about each other but not be good partners anymore. Mom says you got mad about nothing and blew everything up. I took a deep breath. Your mom and I see things very differently. But I want you to know this wasn't a decision I made lightly. Will you and Mom ever get back together? The hope in her voice was a knife in my heart. No, sweetie. That's not going to happen. But we'll always be your parents. Those weeks of alternating custody gave me a new perspective. I had to step up in ways I hadn't before. I learned to French braid Chloe's hair by watching YouTube tutorials, my clumsy engineer's fingers slowly becoming more adept. I mastered Owen's complex bedtime routine, which involved 3 specific stuffed animals arranged in a precise configuration. I became an expert at packing lunches and juggling after-school schedules. You're actually pretty good at this, Dad, Chloe observed one morning as I finished her braid. Thanks for the vote of confidence, I chuckled. No, I mean it, she said seriously. Mom always said you wouldn't know what to do with us on your own. The comment stung, another casual revelation of the narrative Jenna had been spinning for our children. But I kept my expression neutral. Well, I'm learning. I like it here, Owen piped up one morning over his cereal. It's quiet. Quiet, I asked. He nodded. Mom yells a lot at her house, on the phone with her friends. Sometimes she cries. He said it so matter-of-factly. I exchanged a glance with Chloe, who gave a small, confirmatory nod. The quiet in our new home suddenly felt like the most valuable thing in the world. 2 days before our court date, Arthur called. Jenna's lawyer reached out, he said. They want to settle. The offer was more than I had dared to hope for. Joint legal custody, but with me as the primary physical custodian. The children would live with me during the school week and with Jenna on weekends and holidays. She was giving up her claim to my retirement accounts in exchange for keeping the house. Why the sudden change of heart? I asked, stunned. Arthur chuckled. My guess? Her lawyer finally convinced her that her position was indefensible. The text messages, the witness statements. A wife publicly humiliating her husband and then lying about it doesn't play well. I agreed to the terms. Dragging it out further would only hurt the kids. The final divorce decree was signed on a Tuesday morning in June. We sat at separate tables, avoiding eye contact. Outside the courtroom, Jenna approached me. She looked smaller, less certain of herself. So that's it, she said. 12 years. Over, just like that. It's been over for a long time, Jenna, I replied, not unkindly. We just didn't want to admit it. She nodded, blinking back tears that might have been real this time. For what it's worth, I am sorry, she said. Not for everything. I still think you overreacted. But I shouldn't have said what I did at the party. It was the closest I would ever get to a full apology. I appreciate that, I said. As I watched her walk away, I felt not anger, but a profound sadness for what we had lost, mixed with an overwhelming sense of relief that the battle was over. That evening, alone in my new house that was slowly becoming a home, I called Leo. It's done, I told him. Signed and sealed. How are you feeling? He asked. I considered the question. Lighter, I said, and was surprised to find it was true. Like I can finally breathe again. That's good. Really good. Hey, I was thinking of grabbing a beer somewhere. You free? A genuine smile touched my lips for the first time in months. Absolutely, the usual place. As I hung up, I glanced around the living room. On the mantelpiece were new photos of the kids, their smiles bright and genuine. On the coffee table was a stack of my engineering journals, their complex diagrams and equations a comforting sight. This house wasn't as big as the old one. It wasn't the perfect picture I had once tried to maintain, but it was real. It was quiet. And for the first time in a very long time, it felt like home. The old structure was gone, but the ground was clear. I was finally ready to build something new.